Okay, so we are ready after a long pocket process. We are ready to start to put this jacket together. So the next step says to stay stitch, which we already did, the yoke, and it's going to have us put the yoke front to the front of the shirt, and then we're going to do the back one as well. So we'll start with the front. You should have 4 of these pieces, so you have to kind of see which one goes where. But the position will be like this. And I've had people get confused in the past thinking it goes like this to continue that curve. But if you can kind of imagine it, that's the neck up there. And then this over here will be your armhole. So I'm going to try to find the other one that was actually perfect right on top. And it will lay like this. But in sewing, we always do everything backwards. So we're going to flip it down, right sides together. And very important, you're going to line up those corners and pin your corners first, and then the middle, and then the middle of the middle. And I'm going to do that on both sides right away so I can really see this shirt start to come together. Notice I'm kind of distributing the fabric, making sure it's even. And I did the middle next, and then I'm going in between. And you can have a partner help you with this, and you can help them, so you help each other. And then I'll do the same thing on the other side. So I'm going to sew my front yoke pieces together. The right sides are together, and I pinned it and lined it up. And of course I back stitch, and I'm gonna sew this together. I'll repeat on the same way on the other side. And then we will move on to the back yoke. Okay, so you can kind of start to see it looks a little bit more like a traditional shirt. All right, the first thing I need to do for sewing the back yoke together is actually make a pleat. So step 8 says to make pleats on back, on outside, fold along the solid lines, bring the folds to the broken lines, pin, baste across upper edge. So I'm going to show you what that means. You will need tracing paper again. That's helpful. And then I went ahead and turned mine inside out, so right sides are together, so I can do less work. So I'm going to fold my interface or tracing paper in half and tuck it down inside my shirt. And then I'm gonna lay the pattern piece. And of course mine's upside down, so it's hard to see, but you're gonna lay it so that the folded edge is on the fold. And you can see, hopefully, there are 2 lines. There's one right here, so I'm gonna trace it, and one right here. Okay, so then when I open it up, I have 4 lines. Hopefully you can see them. They're very faint, but I can see them. One's here, one's here, one's here, one's here. So then we look at the pattern piece. It helps a lot. It's a mirror image. So we've got this side first, let's say. It says to bring this line over to this line. And so that's what I'm gonna do. I'll pick this line up and I'll fold it so it's touching the other line. And then I'm gonna pin it. So we've got this fold. So all a pleat is a fold. And then if I flip the paper this way, it says to bring this line to this line. Because it is mirrored, I don't want to do it the same way. So I put those lines together, and then I have a nice back pleat. And a lot of people think you have to sew the whole way down. We're just going to baste just across right here. So reminder, to baste, you turn this all the way down to 5 at your length. And then I'm only sewing just across this fold. No need to back stitch. Just trying to make it stay put for the next step. So that was easy and short. And now I'm going to do the yoke attachment. So I've got the top of my shirt, just like I did with the, not the top, the back of my shirt, just like I did with the front. And I am going to lay the back yoke on top. Now you have two back yokes as well, one for lining and one for the outside of the shirt. And so it should look something like this. I'm gonna get it so you can see. And so same thing, I'm going to flip it down so my right sides are together, and I'm going to pin first the corners, and you make them line up, and then the other corner and the middle, etc. And this one's a little bit longer of a seam, so it is helpful to have someone hold it, or do what I did, and I kind of like spread my fingers out so I can make sure I'm pinning everything and distributing your fabric really well. So then you're going to sew this at 5/8 inch as well across. So to sew this at 5/8 inch, I'm going to change my length back to 2.5 because I'm not basting anymore, and I'll back stitch and then sew all the way across, making sure I don't have bubbles and I'm not taking those pins out until the last minute, so that I got everything fitting nicely. And then when it comes to the pleat, just make sure you're not accidentally pushing the pleat in the wrong direction, and it remains folded the way that you pinned and basted it across. And then sometimes I find that the fabric starts to scooch at the end, so really just don't let it go. Hold your ground and make sure you're incorporating it, otherwise you'll have uneven edges. Okay. So this is coming along, and it's so exciting because now we get to really see it start to turn into a piece of clothing. So now it says to put step number 10 on the directions. It's a little different of a step for our type directions, but it says stitch the front sections and back sections together at the shoulder seam. So this is one of those satisfying steps. I'm going to take, here's my back, take my front piece, and I'm going to place it, and it should fit really well along the shoulder seams only to start. And I'll do this one, and again, pin the corners first, and then the middles, and then you're going to sew again a standard seam at 5/8 inch. Now we're really going to have basically a big vest. So pin that and making sure it's even, and then I'll do the other side. So I'm sewing the front and back of my shirt together at the shoulder seams, same type of stitch, just a normal 5/8 inch standard. And then after this, we are going to do some pressing. We're going to press every single seam open that we just did. And you could do this in between as well, or you could do it after all of these seams. And I'll do the other side.